Los Angeles, how are you? How's everybody doing? This is your host, Casey Diaz, host of The Shot Caller. Listen, we got some good stuff for you, like always. And this one's a little bit interesting because it's one of our very own Angelinos here. So, great story. So stick around. We have with us today a really cool guest. I always say we have a cool guest because we just get cool people. That's how it works around here. Honored. But we have Ellie here with us, and we ran across each other on social media. One of the reasons that I actually clicked on your Instagram was because the obvious reason that I just let myself go, man. Many of you guys probably think that, every guy that comes out of these places comes out really nice and fit. Oh. Well, I did come out nice and fit a long time ago, and I've been out married, and so kind of let myself go. And I saw your programs, and
I always wonder what makes people.
Yeah. But welcome to the show, Ellie. Thank you so much. It's an honor to have you here.
Honored to be here.
Yeah, and I want to know all about your story. There's a lot of activity that's going on in Los Angeles and with law enforcement at large.
Yeah.
We need to talk about. And I love when we have law enforcement people here. One, because we get your aspect. You're out in the field. You're actually living that life.
I was full-time, and I'll get into it for a long time. Now I do it by choice.
Very cool.
I always love it.
So, I had, just like everybody that has a weight problem, you go, I'm going to do it this time. I'm going to do it this time. And it is the hardest thing to take the first step.
Yeah, and then you're going to take that first step maybe 20, 30 times like I did, and then quit or do it and gain it back or, yeah.
Yeah.
Through it my whole life, yeah.
See, that's and I started hiking in the whole 9 yards, and I thought, all right, cool. This is I'm going to begin here.
Yeah.
And it was going well for about 4 months. And then, I had 2 tacos, and that was it.
And nutrition is it? Yeah.
Yeah.
You can work out all day long, but if you can't control what goes in your mouth, yes.
So you came originally from
Argentina.
Tell us about that.
I was born in Argentina a long, long time ago, 74, because 46, and my brothers, I had 2 brothers, my parents and I all lived there. My dad had a business. He dealt with racing cars and motorcycles, high-end stuff. We were really well off, and then my dad lost his business partner who handled all the money. My dad didn't want to deal with the money part. Took it all, ran with it. I don't know the whole story, but my uncle came to the United States, and my dad's like, we got to follow him because, it's the land of dreams, and, it's the land of gold. Like, everybody that doesn't live here thinks it's great, but people have a different idea of how hard it'll be when you come here. So we came here, moved to Highland Park, in November of 82. So I was like I just turned 8 years old, and yeah, moved into a little 1-bedroom apartment, and I went from being like a rich, spoiled brat kid, I guess I was over there, in a private Catholic school, to being super, super poor, and where my dad worked 2 or 3 jobs in a car place, installing radios and doing whatever he did with cars, and then, raised me with cars. I love them. Totally off topic. And then my mom was cleaning houses and doing stuff for, I guess wealthy ladies. So I would sometimes help her clean houses. And it was grounding, I guess you could say, coming from being a little rich, spoiled kid to not having anything, and, no new toys, no new clothes. Everything was either from the trash or the Goodwill or the thrift store. And
so that's like,
I went from the top to the
yeah.
bottom. And I didn't speak the language. Like, I didn't speak not a lick of English when I came here. And if you know the Argentinian Spanish,
yeah,
it doesn't sound anything.
Yeah. I have some Argentinian friends. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's quite different.
It was an adjustment.
Yeah. So did you have to go through like ESL classes over here? Or?
I wish I remembered how I learned it, because everybody always asks me, so do you believe in like the dual immersion and all the different teaching stuff? Yeah. Because I eventually became a teacher before law enforcement. But I don't remember. I remember my first best friend here was a white girl, Sarah. 2 of them. One of them was Mexican, Rosa. The other one was a white girl, Sarah. We don't even know how we communicated because we did not speak the same language. We're still friends to this day. but I don't know how I learned it. I must have learned it some point, between middle school,
Yeah.
but I hated it.
Like any memories from Argentina or anything like that?
Not much. I don't know. I don't remember much because I was only until 8. I went to Catholic school, so there was nuns. I remember them coming around with a tea. They used to hit you if you got in trouble there.
Oh, wow.
So my mom used to spank, beat the crap out of us with a belt. It's all part of growing up in Argentina or growing up Hispanic.
You get your beat.
Chocolate for us, it was the belt.
So it wasn't the slipper or...
No, we got the belt.
You got the belt.
You better not run and hide because then it would
Ouch.
come.
So you come here to the United States, and where do you land?
We landed in Highland Park.
Okay.
And then we moved after a couple, I don't even remember if it was a couple years or months, we landed in Glendale, like right on Western and Glen Oaks, the border of like Glendale, Burbank almost. And we were there for like 7 years.
A whole lot better than Highland Park.
Much. My parents
at that time
learned their lesson. Yeah.
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 Wow.
We didn't want to leave the house, but they didn't know because you come from over there, you think LA, you think Hollywood.
Yeah.
Highland Park is kind of close to downtown.
And that's the thing that a lot of people come from either out of state or from other countries.
Yeah.
And they have this visual of Hollywood.
Oh yeah.
Right. Like the tourist.
Yes.
And then they come to Hollywood and they go, "What the heck is this? I didn't see that in the movie."
Nope. I always tell people if you're going to come to California, there's so many things to see. I'll always love it here. I don't care about the politics, but there's so much to see. Hollywood is not it.
I mean, you can go from beach to snow.
Oh yeah, in
an hour. In an hour. Yeah. That's the coolest thing.
There's so many, and the culture here is awesome. Like we can bash Hollywood, but there is really a lot of good culture. Echo Park, they're not the best places, but it is pretty freaking cool to go. There's
and
so
the
much
food.
Food.
I mean.
Yeah, I love the food. I still indulge all the time. Yeah.
Do you really?
Oh yeah, I went to. There's a chicken place somewhere in downtown LA. It's really not expensive, but like hour-long lines for this chicken. I don't remember. I wish I remember.
Hour-long line for.
Sometimes longer, but so I had like fried chicken sandwiches, all that stuff. The Mexican food here.
Yeah, the Mexican food. That's
That's another thing.
How do you even?
When we moved here, we didn't know what Mexican food was. So like, we went with my grandma to get like a burrito. Like to us, tortilla is like a Spanish quiche.
Okay.
So when we order a burrito, they're like a burrito. We're like, what the heck is a burrito? It's a tortilla and we're like, tortilla, that's like a Spanish, all messed up. So it was really hard to adjust because back then, they didn't, now they probably have Mexican food. Back then, there was no Mexican food.
So you had your first burrito, and then what happened?
I don't know. I love it. I did not like the rice and beans. To this day, I can't stand rice and beans.
Can't do it.
Because we ate it so much because it was so cheap.
Yeah.
That I used to call it barro, mud, because it looked like it.
Wow. It does. Yeah, if it's like refried, it does look like mud.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We just ate it so much because it's cheap.
Yeah. So you go to elementary school, then what's your high school? What is that?
That's when my parents decided to move us from Glendale. In 9th grade, they wanted to buy a house. That was when they finally saved up enough to buy their house. So I was always really proud of my parents because they came here. They never got help. They could have probably gone on welfare and all that stuff, but they honestly didn't even know how to. It took us 12 years just to become citizens. But so they decided to buy a house, and they saw these brand new sparkling townhomes on the corner of Van Nuys Boulevard and Glen Oaks in the middle of Pacoima. And they're like, we're moving there. And my brothers and I are like, no, we don't want to move there. It's, the clay projects are right behind us.
What year was that?
That was 1989.
And I'm not positive, but I think that's like the worst part of...
It was pretty crap. Yeah, we were living there through the riots, like through the 92 riots.
Oh, yeah.
In the heart of it.
Oh, wow.
So we had like the McClay projects behind us because, it's like this not so great neighborhood. You have these brand new townhomes. They would throw stuff over. My brother got assaulted with a knife. I got held up. Yeah, my parents had no idea what they were getting into.
Wow.
And then, so we lived there from 89 to 96. They stuck it out because they bought a house and they were going to keep it. And then they finally sold it and lived with the house they live now. That's
that generation that they were hardcore at work, their ethic. It wasn't just work ethic, it was ethic.
Yeah.
Period, across the board.
Lacking right now a lot. They raised my brothers and I to work our butts. We've all been working since we were 15. And I went to college, but they couldn't afford college. My brothers and I couldn't. So I'm still paying my loans to this day. My brother's still paying his loans. Yeah, that's what frustrates me when people say I can't afford college. Yeah, you freaking can.
Yeah, you just gotta
suck it up and
suck it up and do whatever it takes. 2 jobs and go to school. Period.
Yeah.
we're in this place, this funky place today, where people just think that things should be just land on their lap and
the
fall from the entitlement, man.
I deserve it because
that gets on my nerves. It really does.
I can't even. I get it all the time. The whole, I don't know. It's going to be a controversial one, but the white privilege thing. You're so white privileged because some people can tell that I'm not white. Yeah. And some people just bullshit.
Yeah, they assume
you are white. You're white privileged. I'm like, you live in a nice house and a nice neighborhood, and you have. But I worked my butt off to get there, and like everybody else does. Like,
and there's no such thing as that.
There's going to be some people that are going to have more privilege than others.
Yeah.
There's going to be some people that are going to be born into a rich family, like I was in Argentina, but they can be gone the next day. There's going to be people that are going to have access to more stuff because of where they live.
Yeah.
But just because of that, it's going to be harder for some, but you're going to have to work harder. You're going to, be more grateful that you did it.
Yeah, and I think that when you when you work for something, when you earn something,
100%.
You have a different aspect of how you view things, and you
spend your own money on
it. If it doesn't cost you jack,
you're not going to take care of it.
No, you're not. You're a horrible steward of that.
Yeah. It's like kids. Like when my kids want something, we'll take your money out because it's not your birthday or Christmas. So buy it.
There you go. Wow.
Suddenly, they don't want to buy it anymore.
Yeah, because it cost them. Whatever you had them do.
Take your money out. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. That's so good. I have my son. Anytime he wants something that it's not your birthday. It's not. You're going to come to the shop and you're going to learn something. You're going to clean something. You're going to do something.
Work for it. Yeah.
You're going to work for it. I'm not just giving you free money.
No.
Because I've seen what. I think we've both seen what that does to,
spoiled brats.
Oh yeah, man. I see with all the. We'll get to the looting and the rioting and the stupid stuff that's happening out there. So you graduated high school. Going to college.
I just went to community college because I figured what's the difference, I still to this day believe the same. Like the first 2 years are all general ed anyway. Who cares? So I went to Glendale College. Kind of screwed around there because my mom was paying for it. So I got, even through high school, I never really studied it. I got straight C's. In Argentina, it's pass fail. So my mom's like, how are your grades? I'm like, they're fine. I'm passing. So I got straight C's and she was happy with that. So I could have probably gotten to, better, but I went through Glendale College and then I got into CSUN and that's when I had to start paying for it myself.
And then all of a sudden...
And then I started getting straight A's because I realized, man, I'm paying for this myself.
So, you can't be messing around.
Yeah, I wish I would have gotten better grades before because then I probably wouldn't be owing the $200 a month I owe for the next 10 years and I've already been paying it for 25. So
So
I went to college to become a teacher because I was working in a school this whole time, like as an aide.
Okay.
And, I wanted to become a cop the whole time since I was younger, but
really,
my Hispanic parents like, you're a girl, you can't do that, you're crazy. So the girl thing to do is become a teacher because. So I was like, well, fine, I'll just become a teacher, I guess. And then at that time, I wasn't really Christian yet. I was raised Catholic, but I never really believed. I believed in God, but I hated Catholic Church, and so I never really had that God connection.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm not going to go. I want to be a cop, but do I really want to die at work and for somebody like that? So I wanted to do it, but my mom talked me out of it, and it wasn't really quite something I was going to sell her on yet. So I became a teacher. I went and became an elementary school teacher. I taught 4th and 5th grade in Glendale, and I loved it. Loved the kids, loved everything about teaching, but they kept giving me the 4 or 5 split. It was a lot of work, and I felt like I'm never going to have my own kids if I'm in a classroom of 30 little kids all day.
Yeah.
So I said, let me try high school teaching. And then, they're teenagers. I teach Spanish. I teach one subject. It'll give me more time, to do my thing and maybe want kids because I really wanted to have a family. And so I became a high school teacher and I, again, loved it.
Yeah.
To this day, I still keep in contact with my kids, that I used to teach. But then I became the Spanish club advisor, the junior club advisor. I took on the extra period. And again, I was like overwhelmed with teaching.
Yeah.
And that's when I was in teaching Spanish is when I kind of got more back into church and started believing in God more. And then I realized, like, if I don't pursue this dream of becoming a cop now, I'm already 30, I'm never going to do it. And I realized, when it's your time, it's your time.
So you were 30 when you actually decided to go into...
I was 32 when I actually went in, but I was 30 when I started the process of applying.
Okay.
So I applied to, like, all the local ones, LAPD, sheriffs, Burbank, Glendale. And that's when I decided I'm 30. I got my motor. That's when I got my motorcycle because I love cars and bikes. My dad raised me on them. So I got a motorcycle and I applied to the police department. Drove my parents crazy. But that's when I was like, I better do it. And then my faith just reminded me, like, if it's your time, it's your time. You're going to cross the street, get hit by a car.
Yeah, you go to sleep and not wake up. I mean, that's just your time is your time. That's
I
it.
realized I'm going to do this. I don't care.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to do it. I don't have to.
So, but this is the interesting part because you mentioned you're a little girl, and when you're a little girl, that's your dream.
Well, yeah, I thought it's something that always
just intrigued you.
Not when I moved here, not when I was in Argentina, but when I moved here and I would just see LAPD and stuff like that. It always something that intrigued me. Yeah. I always had friends that were in the department when I got older. So I was always around it. A lot of my friends were also dating cops, and I was like, I don't want to date a cop. I want to be one. So I finally decided to do it. I was married at the time. My husband at the time was not happy that that's what I wanted to do. But I was like, well, I mean, they're going to not do it and regret it. Yeah. So I was like, I'm going to go for it.
And it's a calling, I think, that's...
Oh, 100%.
Right?
You're doing that job for the benefits, because, I mean, the benefits are great. Yeah. So is the pension, so is the retirement. But if you don't love it, it's not... Yeah. There's a lot of people. You can see when you go into the academy, anybody that goes in it. We started with like 65, 70 people. We graduated like 40. I mean, you
lose almost half of the class.
Yeah. Right. Some of them you lose right away. You get yelled at. I mean, some people can't.
They just can't take
yelled at. I got yelled at all the time as a kid. So I was
like I'm used to belts.
Funny. Yeah.
Wow. So you go to this training.
Yeah.
And what's your first job? I mean, where do you end up?
After the academy?
Yeah, after the academy.
The thing, I ended up I applied with all these departments at the same time. I ended up getting picked up by Burbank PD.
Okay.
And that's who I went through the academy with. And I went through the academy. I did great. I had a blast in the academy. I actually loved it. I learned so much. But I went through the LA County Sheriff's Department Academy. So that's who they put us through. And so I went through, and after I graduated, Burbank has some issues going on. I went through training with Burbank after that, and I just wasn't a fan of the training that we did after that. So I made the decision to leave and pursue a larger department in LA that I wanted to be a part of, that I pursued before getting hired with Burbank, but I let them go because I thought Burbank would be better.
Yeah.
And then I realized going through the academy that that's not where I wanted to be. So
do you end up in like, I know some departments.
Yeah, I went to a department where you have to go work the jails first.
Okay.
So I ended up going to be assigned to Supermax. That's what the jail was called.
Yeah.
And I had never been around gangs or drugs or any kind of even a shoplifter in my life, because my parents were like, if you ever screw up, you're out of here. Back to Argentina in a second. I was a rule follower my whole life because I was terrified of getting my ass beat by my parents and sent back to Argentina. So it was actually a blessing that I went to the department that I went to where you have to work the jails first, because I spent all day talking to inmates, and learning a lot, because you got to interact with people differently, different people from different backgrounds. You learn a lot about their way of life.
Mannerisms and
their mannerisms, their mannerisms, how to talk to them,
Yeah.
how to get that mutual respect back, which today is, I think, lacking in a lot of departments. I think if more departments had that experience, it might be a little less tension.
How do you go from never being around crime, right, and then you're placed in a position where everyone is in there for crimes.
But the good thing is, and a lot of people apply to law enforcement departments. Oh, I don't want to work the jails. I don't want the. But it's a controlled environment.
Yeah.
So although I was sent to a jail where there was 4,000 male inmates, everybody's like, oh, why don't you want to work with the girls? Girls and girls don't mix. A lot of people know that, especially. So I wasn't. You're in there in a controlled environment. You get to talk to them when you have other, if something happens, God forbid, there's help down the hallway.
Yeah.
When you're out on the street, it's just you and one other person. God knows where help is coming if you're out there. So while there are a lot of cops that go straight onto the street and have that street justice, that street knowledge that you need, there's also a lot that don't. And I think a lot would, like me, I was one of them, and I'll own it. I would have been a mess out there right off the bat without my time in the jail. So it all happened the way it should have.
And how long were you in the jails for?
Almost 5 years. By choice.
That's a long time.
You don't have to. A lot of people are, misunderstanding that, you have to do this. Now you get out super fast. You choose where you want to go. You choose a station you want to get assigned to, and when your name comes up, you go. Some people now you don't even have to go.
Yeah.
But put myself on the list that I wanted to go to for the station I wanted to go to, and then I decided I was going to start. My name wasn't anywhere close, so I was like, "Oh, let me have a kid." And then I started trying to have a kid, and I couldn't. I had to do fertility treatment, so I put myself kind of off the list until I got my fertility issues. Then I ended up getting pregnant, so my time in the jails was 2 years longer than it should have been, but it all worked out. And
wow, that's a long time in a jail environment, though. That's
it gets boring.
Yeah.
And then some people get really used to it, and then you don't want to go out on the streets because
and they'll just stay there.
They'll stay there forever. And now I'm pretty sure, I don't know if it changed it, but I'm pretty sure you don't have to go out. You can stay in the jails forever.
Wow.
So some people it's easy. It's a better schedule. You're more guaranteed to get off time, off work on time.
Yeah, I went through the whole system back in my stupidity and
comeback story.
Yeah, it is, and I'm grateful for a second chance and then using it for a better.
That's the key. Like using your experiences wherever you've lived.
Yeah.
Whether it's a life of crime, whether it's a life of drug abuse, whether it's a life of, to help somebody else.
To help somebody else. And, what better people to talk about that than
the ones that lived it.
Yeah. So, I'm grateful for that. But I know how dangerous, and when you were part of the problem at once, you know how devious it is, how dangerous it is. I mean, I was in there at the time where the Night Stalker was there.
Oh, wow.
Richard Ramirez, yeah. So I was in the gang module.
He was in the gang module? I didn't even
No, he was in the gang module.
Okay.
He was in
like the higher.
Yeah, high power.
Module. Yeah.
I remember when he would come back from court because you still have to walk through those.
Yeah, everybody walks to the
same place.
Yeah.
Yeah, and everybody had to face the wall. All movement stopped just so that he could walk through. And that was pretty.
I bet you he loved it.
Oh, of course. I mean, that's he lived for that thrill.
Yeah.
It's a dangerous environment. I mean, it really is. I've seen, like you probably have,
jail environment. Yeah.
Oh yeah, where riot.
Yeah.
Not so much in the gang modules. In the gang modules, you're pretty much in a cage.
Yeah.
The only movement that you're going in is for court.
Yeah.
And then after your 4 or 5 years in there, you step out.
They send you to patrol, so I went through patrol training, and I went and did patrol training and finished that, and loved patrol. And then about a year and a half into it, my mom got really sick, and I decided, I worked patrol about 45 minutes away from where I lived, and when I had a really hard time being away from my daughter. At that time, I only had one child, and I had such a hard time being away from her. So I decided to move up to a city where I could live and patrol in the same time. I mean, the same place, because I didn't want to work 45 minutes away from work. I thought if I move, I can live and work in the same city. So if I have to work, Christmas, holidays, whatever, I'm nearby. I can.
The flexibility is there. Yeah.
And then my ex-husband at the time, he's still in law enforcement today, so our schedule, it would have just been easier.
Yeah.
So right when I was about to transfer stations, my mom got really sick, so I took a leave of absence to help take care of my mom. I moved in with her for a little bit to take care of her because she got to the point where she was almost not going to make it.
Wow.
And after that, during this leave of absence is when I had major, this is going to be TMI for the men who listen to this, but I had like menstrual issues. So for like 5 years, I had no cycle. And that was part of like my fertility issues. But I already had a kid, so I didn't really care,
We talk about everything around here.
All kinds of things. No menstrual periods.
There's no lines here.
So I didn't plan on having another kid. I was like, my mom was getting better. I was going to go back to work. I was going to come back off my leave of absence to this new station where I live. I was super excited. And then I found out Memorial Day weekend in 2013 that I was 4 months pregnant. Like I didn't even know because I didn't have a period for 4 or 5 years, so missing it wasn't a big deal to me.
Yeah.
But I almost went man down running, and I was like, something's wrong. I went to the hospital, and they're like, oh, no, you're 4 months pregnant.
Wait, you were actually running? And
I was running. I didn't go man down, but I was running, and I was really, I had to call my ex-husband one time. I said, pick me up, because I can't finish this. And I ran, ever since the academy, I was a runner. I ran for my mental sanity. Yeah. So I was running, and I was like, I can't finish. I'm going to pass out. So that's when he picked me up, and we went to the hospital, and they were like, oh, they asked you when your last menstrual cycle was. I was like, 2008. They're like, well, it's 2013. I'm like, I know. But so that's when they said I'm pregnant. And that's when I found out I was pregnant with my son. And I thought, what the hell? I'm supposed to go back to work.
Yeah.
My husband's schedule at the time was a nightmare. My mom she was better, but she couldn't really help us with both kids. So that at that time is when I decided that I just wanted to be a mom with my kids, and I wanted to have, time with them, but I didn't want to leave the job altogether because I loved my job. I had, once you finish patrol training, like the academy is one hump. And then custody training, that's another little hump, but you think it's a big hump when you're going through it. But patrol training, in most people's eyes and my eyes, it was the hardest part to get through. And so once I finished that, I was so glad. So I didn't want to leave the job, but I also wanted to be a mom. So I left and decided to go reserve. And so what reserve means is that there's a lot of people that are reserves, like Lou Ferrigno's a reserve, celebrities, attorneys, doctors, that everybody that wants to be a cop but doesn't want to leave their high-paying job or has their own business goes reserve because they figure I can work as a cop with a badge and a gun and a uniform and do the whole thing, but I don't have to leave my full-time job because you only have to work 2 shifts a month. But the ticket is you make $1 a year. So as a reserve, you're essentially not ever getting paid.
Oh, wow.
You volunteer. But there's thousands in the department that do it. So her search and rescue team, they're all reserves. They don't get paid anything. They go out and just rescue people because that's what they love to do. So I went reserve. And because I was fully trained as a full-time deputy and patrol trained and everything, I worked my free shifts, but I was also, and I still am also, able to work paid shifts when they become available. So like lately we've had a lot of extra shifts available because of the fires. During the riots, during COVID, we had some paid shifts. So I still work in that capacity, and some weeks I'll work 10 hours, some I'll work 20, some I'll work 40. It works for me because the weeks I don't have my kids, I focus on work.
Yeah.
Lately, with this whole budget cut, defunding stuff, there's been very little extra shifts for reserves, but I still love it, and I'll still do it for free every day because I love it.
We had another police officer here, lady, really fun, really cool lady as well, and she talked to us about, and I'll ask you as well, what was that one moment that you were challenged in the field and you went, no, and went after it? For her, she shared her first pursuit, foot pursuit, and this guy, came with a crew. She came with a cruiser and with her police cruiser, and the guy turns around and she tells him to stop, and he turns around and then just kind of like smirks at her, kind of like you're a chick, bye, and then just darts out. And I said, well, what did you do? And she's like, I went after him. And in my mind, she grew up with, I believe it was 5 brothers. Yeah. So running was her thing. Yeah. And she said, I caught him. It took me a little while, but I caught him. And this guy, she said, this guy, he was pretty fast, because, you guys you're doing it constantly. You're constantly, training. You're
supposed to.
You're supposed to, right? Criminals, for the most part, they don't train, so the stamina is not there, but she was surprised that this guy could actually had some, some running shoes there and gave her a little run for her money, but she was able to, finally get to him in Holland Yards. What was one event of yours in your early days that was a challenge for you?
I had a couple. My first training officer, who to this day is freaking amazing, I love him, he's retired, taught me a lot, but kind of the same thing. He kind of challenged me, like it was towards the end of my training, and he's like, all right, we got to look for this guy. He's threatening to kill people, and he was like crazy transient. Transients usually have mental health issues, so we were looking for him everywhere, and we were up in the mountains. It was in the hills of like the Malibu area, and we couldn't find him. Finally, he's like, all right, it was just him and I. We ended up getting him, and this is the first time it happened to me because we went to grab him, cuff him, and he just takes off down the wash, and like my training officer looks at me like, are you just gonna let him go, or are you gonna go after him? So in my head, like, something you really have to think it like.
So he's cuffed when he does this.
I was.
Oh, you were gonna cuff. Okay.
And then he takes off on me, so it was like, so I had no choice but to chase after him. And at the time, my TO was like, he's like, he would have said, just let us freaking go. He hadn't killed anybody, but he was just threatening other transients.
Yeah.
In my head, I was like, you are not. So I chased after him when I probably shouldn't have, and ended up catching him. But my training officer at that time was like, what the hell are you doing? Because he had to come and chase after me.
Yeah.
He had to come with me. He's not going to let me go by myself. Yeah. So that was just kind of it was an ego beat to me, because I was like, this guy got away. Like, I trained.
Yeah.
It was a call of a guy and a girl fighting in a gas station on PCH. And so you're just like, fighting in a car, right? So they're sending us to look for this car everywhere. And we're like, we can't find the car. There's a million cars on PCH, and these two people are in a car fighting.
Yeah.
So finally we're like, forget it. We can't find him. So we gave up. We can't find him. And they call back and say, no, we're following the car. The car is now going up, the road towards the 101. And it looks like the girl is screaming in distress. So we're like, what the? All right, so we're going to go find him. So we go back to the gas station to get a better idea of what the car looks like. And we see in the gas station, the footage, that the girl's kind of looking around like she needs help. So we realized, this might be a little more than, because calls come out and they're one thing. And then when you get there, it's a whole nother different story. They never, whoever calls it in usually has no idea. They just call in what they see.
Yeah.
And so that's just, this is the problem, again, that we're going to get into with all these police videos they show.
Yeah.
What they see and what they call in is not what is happening there. So we ended up finally finding the car and the guy and the girl up off the middle of a turnout, heading back to the 101. And the guy was at the trash can wrapping up he was wrapping something in foil to throw it away. It turned out to be her GPS. And the girl was in the car, so I was dealing with the guy. It was a really tall African-American guy. And I noticed that he had his wallet sticking out. I'm sitting there talking to him, just trying to have a conversation with him. And then, what's going on? And as I'm talking to him, just having a normal conversation, trying to just get an idea, because we didn't have a crime yet. At this point, they're just fighting. My partner yells and he's like, hey, 207. So 207 is a kidnapping.
Wow.
It's a kidnapping. Hook that guy up. No more conversation. So at this point, the guy's huge, and I had to he looked like he was crazy. Like, when you're talking to somebody, you can tell when they got a screw loose, right?
Yeah.
So I kind of talked, we're talking back into the car, and I was like, I have to search you real quick to make sure nothing's wrong. So I search him, I cuff him. He was really cooperative for now. Surprisingly, sit him down from what I remember. And then we check his wallet, and he had his wristband. He'd just been released from, those wristbands.
Yeah.
Just been released from jail. So
wow.
Turns out that was his third. This would have been, it was his third strike. But what happened was, this little girl was going to school. She's 16. She was going to school. And she was waiting at the light. This is a lesson to parents, kids, everybody.
Wow.
She was just waiting at the light, and she sees this transient-looking guy walk up to the car. She thinks he's just going to ask her for money. He doesn't. He gets in the car. He throws her in the back seat, rips the GPS out of her car, takes her phone. And his goal, what we find out later, was to kidnap her and kill her and just take her off. But he couldn't find the 101. He was driving up and down PCH everywhere trying to get to the 101. He finally found a way, and that's when he pulled over to get rid of the GPS and her phone, so that her parents and whoever would track it. And so he ended up going to court, and he ended up getting life in jail after that. But
good.
Yeah, it's crazy how it comes. We could have just blown it off, and we were gonna, because we thought it was just, but whoever called it in was really good about.
And his mistake as well for pulling over, because if he would have kept going, and
but props to whoever saw the crime.
And reported it.
They stayed behind the car and found it. So I always think about that girl, because she could have been.
And this is something that, parents, man, that if you're out there, and you think, well, this will never happen to my kid.
This was in Malibu.
Yeah, the second that you let your guard down and think that it's not going to happen to you, that's usually when it happens.
I always think you have to be, and people think you're paranoid.
And it's not that.
Paranoid. I'm not. Yeah. But you got to have.
Be aware.
Yeah, be aware of your surroundings.
Yeah.
Look around, keep your doors locked in your car.
Absolutely.
And have something for protection.
I tell people on social media, even here on the podcast, if you're a citizen, you got a clean record. You need to get some adequate training.
Yeah.
And purchase. Get your licensing and the whole 9 yards.
Yeah.
And get yourself a some kind of weapon, some kind of gun or whatever.
I'm all for guns,
Yeah,
I'm all for. And before I became, everyone at the sheriff's department, I didn't believe in. I didn't own a gun. I didn't know how to shoot one. But if you think about, like, what are you going to do if somebody does break in your house? And not everybody can carry it on, obviously.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even if you can't carry your gun outside of your house or outside of your business, you can have a knife. You
Yeah.
can have pepper spray. Pepper spray, I'm never a big fan of because if there's wind, it's going to blow in your face, and it's the most awful feeling. I hate it. It's painful.
Yeah.
But a knife, anybody can have a knife, and
I've had talks with my children. I got
pen.
yeah. I've talked to both my daughters.
Yeah.
And have a son, and I took them to get trained from a very early age.
Good. Yeah.
And up here, not too far from here. Yes.
Yeah.
And I had a Marine there, that a friend of ours, and who got to train them and introduce them to guns in the hunting yards, and they enjoy them. They know it's dangerous. They know it's a tool, and they're very careful with. So we take them from. They'll
That's
come.
important,
It's important.
It takes the curiosity of it, like, let's look at
Exactly.
it.
Yeah, and they respect it. And I've always told them that when you get of age, do it.
Yeah.
Get one for your home to protect your home and home yards. It's important.
More now than ever.
Exactly. Now more than ever. The 80s were bad. Now is worse. Like
It's crazy.
It's
now.
crazy.
And
how do you feel about what's going on? Because there's just some. I'm going to call it out. There's some straight out stupidity that's going out there. This hatred against law enforcement, and I think the media has
feeds it.
Yes, they put footage out there that fuels the fire.
Yeah, they don't show.
They don't show the whole thing.
They don't show the whole thing. They show only certain. They don't show what happened before. They don't. They couldn't even tell you what happened before. You know, and they take advantage of the situation. There's always, riots or protests based on what they think they saw.
Yeah.
The Jacob Brake, the Breonna Taylor stuff. Like, the whole Breonna Taylor frustrates the heck out of me. She wasn't sleeping in her bed.
Yeah.
She wasn't an innocent bystander.
Yeah.
She made the poor choice of getting involved with somebody that was involved in drugs. She let him use her address. She ran drugs for him.
Yeah.
And then when the police came and they did knock and notice, he decided to shoot through the door at them.
Yeah.
And when they shot back, she took the rounds, and everybody believes, or most people, a lot of people believe that he used her as a shield. 22 rounds, and he got none, and she got them all.
Yeah.
And he's behind her.
Yeah.
Coward. So that girl made a poor choice.
Yeah.
And now, the city where it happened is anticipating
lawsuits and all that stuff.
Oh, they already got their lawsuits.
Yeah.
She already got millions, but they're anticipating. They just placed, I think, an emergency, state of emergency, because when the verdict comes down that the cops are fine, and
wow,
everybody's gonna go crazy.
Yeah, but that's so common throughout the states right now, where everywhere, and it's and here's the other thing that the media doesn't do. Just recently, I want to say maybe 4 weeks ago at the most, there was an incident where there was a home invasion, and two robbers are running to the getaway car, and a police cruiser is right behind them as they come out.
Yeah. And
the first guy goes around the front of the car and comes out and just starts firing at the police officer. Second guy has a AK-47 and they don't even have a chance.
I didn't even hear about this one.
They don't, that's because mainstream media is not going to put that on there.
I don't even have the news at home because I can't.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I try not to. Yeah. Because of what I do.
Yeah.
I'm almost like,
you have to see it.
I have to see stuff like that. I saw the footage, and it's an AK-47.
Yeah. There's no.
Didn't even have a chance to come out of the car or even reach for their service weapon, and 3 police officers almost lose their lives.
Oh, they didn't lose.
They didn't lose their lives, but they got back in the car and they jammed. Yeah. The media
didn't even show it. Of course not, because then they're fully justified on that.
Well, it's not their it doesn't fit their narrative.
Yeah.
And so they have a narrative, they have an agenda, and I think it's awful for them to do that, because then you're putting the lives of these police officers in danger.
Yeah.
Purposefully.
Yeah.
Because now there's this rage on our streets, and people that are just headline readers and don't do their homework.
The headline readers.
Yeah.
Like they don't do Jacob Blake thing.
Yes.
The whole thing. Yeah.
They don't do their homework. they depend on CNN. They depend on these networks that they're trash.
Yeah.
And they said it, then I guess it's gold, and let's go out and
A lot of the public.
it's awful. Where are you at with that? I mean, that's gotta like,
It's frustrating as all hell because people don't really look at like we're being hunted or they're shooting us all or and I don't see, for whatever reason, I see a lot of the black community saying we're scared to drive down the street, we're always being pulled over. Hispanics are kind of the same, but they're not crying about it.
Yeah.
They just know that you got to follow the rules. Like
That's it.
We came to the point where instead of defending police, we're defending the criminal. Well, why did you shoot him? Why are you defending the guy that broke the law and then decided to not listen to? It's really 99.9% of all these situations would be avoided if
it could have been prevented.
Comply. Well, why do I have to comply?
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah.
Like last year in 2019, there were 375 million documented police contacts. So that means that they were documented, meaning the officer had to,
write a report for a stop,
or just documented as a call.
Yeah.
375 million, and we all go through many contacts that aren't documented because somebody just walks up to you, you talk to them, and they go. So there's even more than that. So out of 375 million, 999 ended up in police shootings where the guy or the woman died. That's like from what I remember, 0.0003%.
Yeah.
So obviously, police aren't out of all of those contacts, but yet they focus on only those.
Yeah.
As opposed to all the positive interactions, that.
And the result of that is what just took place a few weeks ago. In Compton.
In Compton, that was.
I mean,
I remember being out and hearing about it, just bone chilling. Like, what a story for those two and what they did. Yeah. To survive, but it's just a prime example of not only what the shooter did, but what the people on scene did. Yeah, recording it
and laughing.
Phones, laughing as you see two people, a mother and a guy just barely into his 20s, bleeding to almost death. Yeah, and laughing about it, not rendering aid, not calling for help. Like, I don't know what's worse. Like, that's not even an animal because animals aren't even that bad. They at least help each other. But
I listened to.
And then since then, we've had 3, 4, 5 ambushes also. So. And
we didn't even hear about those. I mean, that's.
You hear them through social media. Yeah. You follow police pages, stuff like that. But no, you don't hear about them because the family. I forgot the city it was in, but it was a male and a female police officer with their newborn baby. Their home got shot up, and their baby wasn't hit, but. That just happened. Another officer that went and did a traffic stop and he got shot through the window out of nowhere. So and that's how it happened in the last couple of days. I don't have the news, so I see this stuff on social media and I come across it. But
and that's the thing. I mean that's
that are hunting the criminals are now being hunted.
Yeah, and the criminal is hailed as a victim.
Oh yeah.
And you know what I really dislike is they'll always put that guy's picture or that gal's picture
when he was 8 years old.
Yeah. It's like some elementary school picture, with him and an apple on the table or something. And they don't show his whole police record. They don't show all the other stuff that he's been convicted of and let go eventually. They don't show that.
No. And even if they do say it, once they do say it, or when they say, well, it doesn't matter his police record. It just matters he shouldn't have died. Yeah. Well, he wouldn't have died if he would have just listened. The George Floyd, George Floyd is different. That was different. But Blake, I mean, that is another issue,
Yeah, you reach out you open the door and you reach out to grab something. These police officers, they have a right to go home too.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing.
A police officer doesn't sign up to die.
No.
He signs up to protect and serve. And if, you're going to let somebody get away or let somebody kill you, what are they going to do to the rest of the civilians around there? Like with the Blake story, there was kids in the car, there was kids around. He'd already assaulted the person he'd already sexually assaulted before.
A 14-year-old.
He was armed with a knife. Mm-hmm. So they're not just going to let him get into a car and take off with kids when he's already threatened people. It's all misinformation.
It really is, and it's unfortunate because
they want you to wait till, or the famous things, shoot him in the legs. You can't. It's hard enough to shoot a person in the chest. Yeah. But and people don't get it. It sounds grim, but as an officer, you're trained to shoot to kill, shoot to stop the threat. Yeah. And it's hard enough to shoot to stop the threat in the upper torso, but if the only reason you should pull out your gun is because your life is being threatened, and
Yeah.
you need to stop that life at that point to save everybody else.
Yeah.
So people don't get that, and then
Yeah, and it's unfortunate that if we could only just do the homework, like yeah,
I
like
think it's just, you have to create dialogue for people to understand.
yes, yeah,
Like I just shared something that like the Gators, like the Florida Gators, they had training with the athletes and police where you talk about explain situations, explain scenarios, or go through scenarios. Even if like they have civilian academies where you go through police training as a civilian just to see.
Oh, well, that's great.
Yeah, there's right now for COVID they're all stopped, but it's all ways to kind of get both sides to understand because it's really hard to understand the job of an officer. Even by going on a ride along, you're not going to see it all in one ride along, but if both sides just can create it, there's a lot of really good cops, and there are some bad ones, just like there's bad attorneys, there's bad doctors, there's bad nurses, but
there's bad pastors.
There's bad, but you don't see them all over the news. You just see cops. So they're turning.
It's awful.
This whole year is like one big tornado of
man, right? And then we just had an earthquake.
Leaders seem to like fuel the fire. They're not. I don't see a lot of city leaders coming to police aid, especially here
in California.
California or LA.
It's.
I don't see Garcetti standing up for police. I
no.
don't see.
And even when he had something to say about the Compton shooting, it was very vague, very not really, putting it out there. I mean, you could tell it's the body language, the speech, the whole yards. It was very watered down.
Yeah,
it's
discouraging.
I would have.
But the people that are in law enforcement do it because they love it, and they're not going to let that.
It seems like a really interesting life. Coming. I love victory stories, and you have a victory story. You really do. I mean, you come from, always.
I'm on a roller coaster.
No, but you are a victory story because you come from a different land. Yeah. And then you come here, and it's not like you come to Beverly Hills and your family works hard, instills those kind of ethics in you, keeps you in your narrow path, and then you have as an adult have to make positive choices in life. Yeah. And here you are now. But I want to talk about the stuff that I never got involved in because, man, it's just difficult. You also are big on fitness. You have your own program.
As girls or women, men too, but mostly women, you're all into like dieting. You want to be skinny, your diets. There's all these different diets. So out of high school and college, I was dieting like crazy, working out all the time. And then I ended up cutting my Achilles tendon, which was like a really tough injury on me. It sidelined me for a year, and I went to like bad depression. That led to an eating disorder. So that eating disorder of dieting and eating disorders and stuff went on through most of my 20s and most of my 30s. You're always trying to, find the next thing that's going to help you, the next diet pill, the next, so it was a miserable way to live.
Yeah.
A lot of people live that way because they want to find that quick fix that's going to give you the magazine shape or the filter shape that you see on social media that's not ideal, that you don't know if they got the liposuction for, they worked hard for, So the whole time I did that. And then once I had my kids, I realized I can't be this example for my daughter or my son. And when I left the sheriff's department and I took my year leave of absence, I was always raised to work. Like I was still working, but I wasn't getting paid. And I was getting some paid shifts, but I felt like I needed to contribute. So I started helping this lady with her social media for her fitness business. And I was like, hey, this is something like I really like. Like I liked the program. It taught, it had these little containers that taught you about, protein, fats, and carbs and all that stuff. And I thought, this is kind of interesting. I could kind of, this could kind of help. It makes sense. It's not a diet. I want to learn it. So I learned it. And then I asked a couple other like mom friends of mine to do it with me, like in a Facebook group. And I was like, I'll do it and I'll teach it to you guys since I learned it. And then let's see how we do. So I started that right after I had my son. And I was kind of like coaching them, but not officially. And I was like, hey, I kind of like this. Like I made a life change for myself. I finally quit the dieting because I didn't want to do it for my, I wanted to set a good example for my kids. And so that's kind of how I started my nutrition thing. I was like, I'm going to make this a business and this is what I'm going to do to make money because I wanted to be a mom, remember? So I didn't want to go and get another job if I had left the department full time. I wanted to still be able to work my shifts and make my own business. So my business was I'm gonna help other people learn nutrition like I learned it and skip all the diets and the things that don't work and the pills and the fat burners and learn the right way to do it.
And you wrote a book.
Yeah, that was just recently this year because
Nice.
I learned. So this program teaches you what I coach online, so it doesn't matter where you're at.
Yeah.
I coach all in a private group, so everybody's kind of in a private group. It kind of holds you accountable. Everybody shares their meals, their snacks. I post some meal plans, and every day I kind of teach little lessons on different nutrition topics. It varies from intermittent fasting to quick and easy recipes to meal prep to how to meal prep. So each day in that group I teach that, and I also teach macros because macros is like rocket science to people, but it's really not that hard. So because people could never seem to understand and I would have to explain it, and once I explained it, they're like, oh, that's what it is.
Yeah.
I was like, why don't I just put this to print, or an ebook
Yeah.
so that people could read it and learn how to track macros without like counting every gram. Like there's apps that do it for you. So
And what's the name of the book?
it's called Macros 101.
Macros 101. You got to get it. And so it's in.
So it teaches you, it basically teaches you. So it teaches you how to use your height and your weight and your goal weight to figure out how many calories you need a day and how many proteins, fats, and carbs you need a day. And so once you figure that out, and I help you if you don't know how, but it's really simple math. Once you figure that out, it gives you a percentage. And then I show you the app. It's a free app that you use. I use MyFitnessPal. You get that app, and the book walks you through how to track those. And once you don't have to stay like in a certain number, so it's not like 8 grams of I went over my 51 grams of protein. I'd like to teach a range because I don't like to focus on a number. Like even the scale. Like people ask me how much I weigh. Between 125 and 130. Today I might be 125. Tomorrow I might be 130.
Yeah.
The next day 128. I don't focus on one number. I'd rather have like a ballpark estimate.
Yeah.
So it teaches you how to get that range and track it using an app so that you can kind of eat whatever you want. So like if you want to have a margarita tonight, then maybe earlier during the day, skip your fruit because a margarita has sugar and so does fruit. So it kind of teaches you how to balance so that you can still enjoy food without having to cut out. I like to go to a bar and I like to have a drink and I like to have, the fried chicken wings. So,
But that's to me that's pretty cool that you actually figured this out yourself.
Late in life. I mean, my
But
40s,
you did.
But finally.
Yeah.
I used to work out. Like I was that girl that went to the gym and did like an hour of cardio on the Stairmaster and then another like 30 minutes of weights. And I would be like 2 hours in the gym and no results. And I had thyroid issues. I was on thyroid medication my whole life. And I turned into a hippie when I had kids. And I hate medication. Like I really researched. I'm one of those that I'm going to get attacked on and I know it, but I don't do vaccines. Like I don't believe in them. After my daughter got really bad reaction at 2 years old, I don't like medication. I don't like vaccines.
Yeah.
So I really think food is medicine. Food is like, so I got off my thyroid medications. I stopped taking them. My doctor's like, you can't ever stop taking those. You're going to gain weight. But once I did that.
I always find that suspicious when they tell you that, right? I don't know.
Yeah,
it
I
just
don't like
doesn't sound
Prescription
right.
drugs keep you. I mean, if you even listen to a commercial, you hear like
The side effects.
The side effects go
Yeah.
blah, 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 like
Yeah.
at the end. There's
Yeah.
20 side effects for the one problem you're going to fix.
Yeah.
So it's like a revolving door of keeping
It
you.
does to me. It just doesn't make sense.
No.
But you figured that out, and that's for me. Like I looked into your thing, right? Like I actually sat down and I went, it can't be that hard. She's telling everybody it can't be that hard.
I share it all the time, and people are like, whenever somebody reaches out to me about it, they're like, I've been following you for 6 months, 8 months, 9 months, and it takes a long time to finally be like, all right, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
But the people that have bought the book and really apply it, like this morning I was like, Mondays, every other Monday is kind of crappy for me because my kids leave for the week. Every other week I lose them. So today I was like, oh man, they leave. I hate it. I'm so bummed. Yeah. But I went and checked my messages, and this girl's like, I started the book Friday. It's Monday. I'm down 3 pounds. Something finally works. So I was like,
wow, that's cool.
It really, like, out of all the messages I get, that one was like, yes.
Yeah.
All right, never mind. Made my day. I'm good.
That's awesome.
So little messages like that makes a big difference because I struggled for so long working out. And working out does help. You still need it, but...
I think it's the first steps that really
For
getting
me,
to
working out
that.
is mental, 100%
Yeah.
mental. I'd rather be outside than in a gym any day.
Yeah.
And it's more to get me feeling good. Like, I hate doing it. Every single time I work out, I hate starting.
Yeah.
There's some people that are weird and like it. I don't like working out.
Yeah.
I like how I feel when I'm done.
And see, like for me, you know, when in my early years when I first got out, I was doing the running. I was doing the hiking. It was a everyday thing, and I loved it. And then, and I'm gonna use this excuse, and it's an excuse, and it's a horrible one, because you get married.
Oh yeah.
You get married, and all of a sudden, you know, you feel like, okay, well, I conquered, right? Like I'm married now.
Yeah.
You know, you're
That's
not.
a lot of married, but you can't do that.
You can't do that.
Yeah.
And it's like I've tried it. I start hiking because I'm like sort of like you were. I like the outdoor thing.
Yeah.
I get bored easy if I'm in the gym or
I don't.
it's just not my thing. I like the hiking. I like the running, but the weights. But for some reason, man, I'm just like stuck in this. And I think there's a lot of people that
Sometimes
are like
you
me
have
right
a
now.
Partner that'll do it with you. Somebody to motivate you.
Yeah. And I probably that's where, you know, like a friend or something like that.
That's why when I coach, people are like, do you coach individually? I do coach individually, but I prefer to coach in the online group setting because everybody
contributes.
There's so many people in the group. There's one from Washington, D.C. There's one from Northern California. And we've never even met. One of them I've met. But we kind of motivate each other. There's another one in Florida because you don't want to do it. And then you're like, oh, well, Rayanne just posted her workout. Damn it, now I'll do it. I mean, she posted every other excuse why she didn't want to, but she did it.
Yeah.
So it motivates you. You get that accountability and you get the reminder that, all right, they're going to do it. I'm going to do it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
But, you know, again, I'm going to say it again. It's a victory story because I see, you know, and I'll share something that happened to me early on before I ruined my young adult life, my teen life. I had actually a teacher who I was in a continuation school, and this teacher, for some odd reason, I was that one little gang member kid in the back causing all the ruckus.
Yeah.
And I remember her telling me on day one, she said, "You're gonna graduate. You're gonna," and when she said that in front of all the kids, and it's a continuation school on 6th and Lafayette.
Yeah, down there.
Yeah, it's like the worst of the worst.
Not going to graduate, but she did.
Yeah, but she said that, and everybody's laughing, right? You know, everybody's clowning around, and this lady starts to go to my apartment. Nobody knows. Yeah. I'm still a little gang member kid, and she's showing up at my apartment and helping me with homework. Wow. Like she's not getting paid for this. Nobody knows. But she's actually going out to the apartment and helping me with my homework. And right towards the end of, you know, I passed all my everything I needed to, all the requirements. And she said, "I want you to have a sit down with my best friend." And I didn't know who she was talking about. Yeah. And I said, "What about? What's it about?" And she says, "Well, she's a deputy sheriff. And I think she says a sergeant."
Yeah.
And she says, she's willing to talk to you. And she just wants to come here with me and just talk to you. And at first I said, you know, for what? Like, what's there to talk?
Yeah.
You know, I'm still in my stupid, you know, mentality of you know, gangbanging and all that. And she says, "I think we could help you. And I think that you can make a better choice than the choices that you've made so far."
Yeah.
Somehow, because of her kindness, I said yes to it. So she came on a Saturday. I remember that. I'll never forget this. She came and, you know, not in uniform, just regular clothes. And she introduced herself to me and the whole year. She says, "You know, I can help you come out of this lifestyle. And I can help you at some point go through the academy."
Yeah.
And when she said that, I kind of looked at her like she was crazy.
Yeah.
And I just, are you saying that like to be a cop? Yeah. And
you see him on the other side?
Yeah. And I said, I could never do that. I said, this is what I signed up.
Yeah.
You know, you're just a little kid. And I said, I can't do that. And I look at moments like that, and I think we all have moments, you know,
where you had the chance.
Where you had the chance to make a different choice, and you didn't take it. And that was one of those choices. I remember she left me a card, and she said, once you graduate, Joanna was the teacher that was helping me out. She said,
you should find her if you don't.
I have looked for her for the past almost 30 years.
Oh, man.
Through
what
Facebook.
A story would be to find her.
And I just want to say thank you for even trying. That's really the only thing that I want to say to her.
You were given that fork in the road, and you chose the other fork.
Yeah.
You still get, look at where you are today, though.
Yeah. But I believe that God puts people
100%
in early on in our lives.
Yeah.
And sometimes we just don't get it, and we make foolish decisions. And that was one of those. But, I don't know. What are the chances of her listening to this podcast? I don't know. You never know.
Do you know her last name?
Escalante, which is funny because Joanna Escalante, and the last place that she worked at was called the Metropolitan Skill Center. It's a continuation school in Los Angeles, off of Lafayette and 6th Street.
Crazy that you can't find her.
I cannot find her. I've looked for her high and low on social media.
It's kind of a common name, but not really. But yeah.
Yeah, and
too bad you don't know who that sergeant is either.
Yeah, and
that sergeant would know you.
Yeah, and they were best friends.
You don't have her card?
I'd have to probably look at it. And then, you're talking about.
Yeah, I know, but man,
3 decades ago.
Story, yeah. We all have those decisions that you make.
Yeah.
You can go this way or this way.
And I chose to go the other way. I mean, but basically what I wanted to tell her for the longest is just thank you for even trying and seeing something that I didn't see.
Yeah.
But
teachers are one of those impactful. That's what the hard part about right now with these kids being home.
Yeah.
They're missing. I know a lot of these kids, when they have a home life that's abuse, that's where a lot of the abuse is found, is through teachers. So them being home they're having a hard time with it, because sometimes that's their escape, going there and getting that help or getting that motivation when they're not getting it at home from the parents.
It stinks, but it is what it is for now, and hopefully, we have some.
They said after the election, schools open up again. So.
You heard that, right? Yeah, a little suspicious that they would say November.
Yeah, no, she specifically the health director
after the elections. That's what she said.
We're looking to open it after the elections.
Yeah, that is so. Yeah. That's just so foul.
I'm glad, because honestly, it's no place for kids to be, separated by glass. And even like my 6-year-old is like, I don't want to go to school with my mask on and not being able to play with my friends. It's not the social setting that school should be.
Yeah, they're kids.
We're in the twilight zone, but I really think that it's I'm hoping that I used to be like the whole, I don't want to expect the good, because then you're going to be let down.
Yeah.
But this whole life change for me turned me into like, focus on the positive and be grateful for what you have. So I'm hoping that this whole crap of a year, for lack of better words, is going to be for the greater good. And we're going to come out of it, pray to God, better. Because, it's just the stuff is...
Yeah.
Nobody would have... When somebody said, we're going to be 5 years from now...
This was not what we were thinking.
Anybody said. Nobody was right 5 years ago.
Exactly.
Not one person
you know what I like?
was going to be quarantined.
You also go to church, so one of the things that I make fun of is all these pastors that their sermons on January 1st were the catchphrases, right? The Vision 2020, and it's like
20,
no.
And of all years, like 2020, we
out of all years,
2020 like it was going to be like the year of the Jetsons or whatever.
Yeah, and it's
been a year, all right.
Jeez, man,
it's been a landmark year, all right. But
and we still have a few months. That's the
I'm gonna put my Christmas tree up soon, because I just want to get there.
Right, we just want to get to
Christmas.
Thanksgiving and Christmas. It's got to get back to normal by then. Ellie, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you making the trip.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Yeah. Great just talking about it kind of reminds you of everything and takes you through that again and again.
But I want us to remind everyone that watches us and listens to us, the name of the book?
Yes, it's Macros 101. You either get it on Amazon or just send me a message on social media, on Instagram, and I can send it to you too. So either way.
And what's your social media handle for that?
Fit Cop Mom. Pretty simple.
Fit Cop Mom.
Fit Cop Mom.
You can't get it wrong like that. It's that easy.
I'm a cop, not full time anymore because I get called out on that all the time. And yes,
and you're fit.
Yeah.
There it is.
And I'm going to own it this time. It took me a long time to be okay in my own skin, but yeah, now I am.
That's so cool. I'm just thank you so much for being here, for your life, for serving your community. Thank you for all that you do. Thank you for your service. I'm on this side, and I once was, I like to say your client.
Yeah.
No longer subscribe to it.
You can turn. A lot of people don't have hope for that. You can obviously turn it around.
And you can. I mean, for me, it took Christ, and then choices that
Owning
you own the.
You didn't have the privilege, but you still did it.
Yeah, and I work just as hard as everybody else now. I started with minimum wage jobs when I got out.
Some people are not humble enough to do that.
But that's what it takes.
Yeah.
That's what it takes. So, but Ellie, thank you so much. I know you could have been at a better place, but you chose here for today. And
my first ever podcast. This is the best.
Oh, this is your first?
First ever. I've never done one before.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Look at that.
I'll always remember.
There you go. But thank you for all you do in the community, in your life. What a victorious life that you have, and all the best to you. I will continue to pray for your safety out there, as you and for your family. We are forever grateful for what you do in your line of work. So until next time, thank you so much, Los Angeles. It is such a joy to be with you guys. I want to thank you, those of you that sponsor this podcast, your contribution, your encouragement. It means a whole lot to us, and we know that it's touching a lot of lives. You can change, and all it takes is one choice at a time. You could do it, Los Angeles. We could be a better Los Angeles, and it can start today. I said it.
100%.
Yeah, I said this last time. Let's make Los Angeles great again.
Oh, that's what I said. Yes.
Booyah.
California and LA great again.
That's right.
We have hope.
Till next time, God bless you.